Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Margaret Pennard and you're on BookTube. So this is going to be some fun wrap-up content and I hope you're ready because I've got 11 books to flash in front of your eyes for my absolutely bursting February wrap-up. And not because I read a whole bunch of books. I've read 20 books in a month before. That was not last month. I only have 11. But there was so much going on and so much thought and intentionality into the books that's what makes this wrap up special. So stick with me, say hello, and we're going to dive into my first announcements. I always do is ongoing and upcoming. Oh, Beth Ann popping in to say hi and poke that like button. Have a meeting, much rather be over here. Yay. Oh, John saying, I liked this, and so now I'm gonna say this when you pop in, John. John from Howdy Land. I like that. Okay, so ongoing. Oh, actually, here's the hook. Here's why you shouldn't step away even for a moment. I've covered 2 readathons, an ARC, a writing craft book, an Irish readathon preview, and a wrap party. So all that is going to be part of my intentional reading for February and stuff I'm going to discuss today. So hope that tempts you to stay. Ongoing announcements. If you want to practice on Streamyard, I do Sunday tutorial training sessions where I can help you pick out the things, the bells and whistles that you'd like to level up on. And I have a form for that. It's in the description if you want to give it a try. I'm trying to reserve 2 Sundays a month to do those sort of training sessions for whoever wants to try it out. So please let me know if you want help or a helping hand. And also this month, I have a new Patreon tier for writers. So some genius named Barrett pointed out that that might be a good idea. And I thought, why didn't I think of that? Because yeah, BookTube, AuthorTube. So I've got a new tier for writers, which is going to be kind of like a mastermind group that meets once a month. I'm kind of thinking about Rachel Stevens' model for this. And so I hope some people will sign up and we can get going on that in April because that is a book focused month. So that would be really cool. Upcoming announcements include tomorrow's live. So tomorrow I'm going to be talking with Shannon Esty Houston because we buddy read a book together for one of the readathons. The book is Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury, who is here on AuthorTube. And so I'm not going to go into detail on my thoughts on that one today, but tomorrow you'll be hearing from both Shannon and me about what we thought about the book. Spoiler, it's not a spoiler. I gave it 4 stars, so there we go. And then the only other upcoming is the wrap party, to remind you all. So I've put that in the description as well, even though it is unlisted so far. Next Tuesday, March 15th, we're going to have a wrap party for our readathon for all the booktubers who read books, either solo or buddy read. And we're going to come on and just like talk about it, talk about the books, talk about each other's channels, just have a fun old time. So that should be great. And now we're going to transition into the first book. So, what was your February read is my question for you to put in the chat because I'm going to start off this wrap up with my favorite read of February. So this actually was planned, if you can believe it. John says I'm not complaining about Howdy Land. I can get Little Debbie here. I'm glad. I'm glad. Oh, all right. So what was your February read? That was your favorite. I rescued that, didn't I? Real smooth, real smooth. Cool Gamer is here. Hello. So I will go ahead and start with mine. And I even did overlays for this. Woo! We're going full bore today, just to show off a little. So let me introduce you to my 5-star read of February, Transcendent Kingdom, Gyasi's second book. And I'm glad I started with this. People have said that Homegoing was better than Transcendent Kingdom, but my experience reading Transcendent Kingdom already makes this one a 5-star. It could be because I discussed it along the way with Sandy of Ms. Reads a Lot and Nikki of Red Dot Reads. We had a fantastic buddy read experience. So it was about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, I think. And we talked on Voxer a little bit with verbal messages. We recorded messages and sent them, which is a fun, different way. And basically kept even with each other. So what is this about? The premise of Transcendent Kingdom, let's see if I can make this pithy here. It's basically about a young woman who is a postdoc student doing scientific research about behavioral responses to stimuli and light therapy in rats, right? So that's her present day experience. And we see a lot of her childhood and her family upbringing and a lot of complicated stuff that she's gone through that has made her pursue the goals in life that she is pursuing and think about goals the way she is thinking about them. And so we dive into her family life, which is her mother is an immigrant from Ghana and lives in, oh, now I'm just going to blank. Is it Alabama? I think it's Alabama, but I might be getting that mixed up with Gold Diggers. Anyway, one of the 3 deep south, southeastern states, and is very isolated and is having a tough time and has 2 children there. And so she talks about her brother, she talks about her mother, she talks about her father and the family and Ghana and growing up in the South and some of the prejudice that she lives through, but also the defining event is her brother's death from addiction. And that's not a spoiler because it's a topic around which the book revolves. And it was so, how do I even describe that? It was so well done in terms of having a central spoke and having all these other relationships in her life and the main character's life relate to that incident, but also comment on the broader social issue. So I thought this was so illuminating. And so I loved this read. So I would recommend it to anybody. Let's see. I'm catching up here. We've got Danny Ness. Hello. Welcome to the wrap up. John saying, is it any surprise my favorite February read was a Piers Anthony novel? No, it is not. You can give us the title though. Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. Hello, welcome. His favorite February read was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. That seems like a name that's been in the news lately. I'm not sure why, but it wasn't a 5-star read. It wasn't an epic reading month. Okay. Well, I think we've got your wrap up already, so we can definitely check out Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff for February. Danny says, my favorite February read was the second in a series, Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, a YA mystery thriller series. Great series. Okay, cool. I feel like I've seen that name, but I haven't read Holly Jackson or Holly Black, who is YA fantasy. So I'm like mixing them up in my head so far, kind of like I did for Robin Hobb and Robin Blue Sword Robin. I can't remember those names, but I have read that one. The Blue Sword Robin, and I really liked Robin McKinley because she wrote Sunshine. So yes, but I'm glad to hear that this Holly Jackson is a good writer. Excellent. Ooh, I loved Homegoing, says Danny. I so want to read Transcendent Kingdom. Just worried about the mixed reviews. I'm glad to hear your thoughts. Oh yeah. I'm not even sure why people would have mixed reviews about this one. Maybe because it switches back and forth a lot, especially at the beginning. We had some issues with that in our buddy read group because it was like a little bit of whiplash, having the chapters so short and then the perspectives change so often. But persevere. It irons itself out pretty quickly, like 20% in maybe. So yeah, persevere. And John's giving me McKinley with one N, but I get it. Yes, thank you. So yes, I'm leading with my favorite 5-star read, and I love hearing about yours. So thank you. I'll turn that banner off. And now we're going to move into the 2 readathons. So we're going to have to do them both at once because all the prompts were overlapping for me. So I started the Black Authortuber readathon because I did the Blackathon last year, and it was great. I didn't really get into Gyasi Books and Bowties channel as much, and so I wanted to do something that was a little bit more making an impact in my community. And what is my community other than BookTube and AuthorTube? So 4 Black authors who are on YouTube, I thought we can read their books. We can support them because as an author, I know that any one person who reads your book, you know about it. It's not like a drop in the bucket for someone like, Gyasi, who is super, super successful. So I thought we would make these people's day by reading their books and leaving reviews on YouTube. So we've got some of those, and I've put them on a playlist. I don't have that in the description, but I'll put it in later. Or you can find it, or I'll put it up here. That's probably the best idea. I'll put it up here. And so I read 4 books by Black authors on YouTube. And so let's dive into the first one, which I'm not going to say that much about, other than to say 4-star read. So Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. She is one of the most successful author-tubers in terms of audience. She's also traditionally published. And there are a lot of people who have talked about this book. So it was a little bit of like FOMO. Like, I've been wanting to read this for a long time. And so this gave me a great opportunity to buddy read it with Shannon. So Shannon and I will be talking about that tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific. So after work for anyone who's in the Eastern United States, or, nighttime for those on the other side of the world. So hopefully you can attend that and we can dive into the magic of this young adult fantasy if you're interested in that genre. The next one I have on my list, and I read these early in the month, so I'm going to be reaching a little bit, is The Art of Love, a poetry collection by J.C. Carpenter. I love J.C. Carpenter. She is a wonderful YouTuber. She just launched 2 books, one romance and one poetry collection last fall, and has sort of rocketed up in the charts because she is so heartfelt in her vlogs and her writing craft videos and everything. She did giveaways early on, I think 1 a month, and I won 1, if not 2 of those, and she does like planner stickers and stuff, which was great. And she mailed just like cards saying thank you and just being like a wonderful person. So I was very happy to read JC's poetry collection. I would recommend this for people who love living in the land of 1980s power ballads, because I definitely got that vibe from these love poems. Also someone who has like a romantic relationship in their life that they can enjoy seeing others. So this was a lot of someone appreciating and showing gratitude for the love in their life. So the romantic love in their life, I should say. And so I was not in the greatest place for this in February, but I would definitely recommend JC's work, and I'm excited to see what she comes up with next. So thank you, JC. The next book in my Authortuber Readathon was Christmas with the WRIGHTS. So I did a search. I had a few Black authors that I knew and already interacted with on YouTube in their Authortube guys. But I did a search to try to expand the circle and find more Black authors on YouTube. And I came across Christina C. Jones, who has quite the backlist. So if you are a romance reader and you like, let's say, steamy contemporary romance, this is definitely for you. She has a lot to go through and several different series that are very easy to work their way through. Because I wanted to read more people for the readathon, I chose a novella which was short and sweet. It's Christmas with the WRIGHTS, which is sort of, as some reviewers described it, an expanded epilogue. It's sort of like the cap on the end of the series, which was perfect because it definitely intrigued me to get to want to read the earlier novels which deal with different couples in the series. So if you are a romance reader, you know that this is a common thing that romance writers do, is that they'll have a series with interrelated characters, but they'll focus on the romantic relationship of a different couple in each book. And so that's how it's related. And it's able to be read alone, but also you get more of the jokes or Easter eggs or, the heartfeltness of it if you've read the whole series and you know the other couples as they go through. So this was the ending novella, and I liked it. It was a lot, because there are a lot of different points of view, because the author assumed that you've read the other novels. And so I just had to like switch points of view each chapter with people I didn't know yet, which was not a turnoff, but like, oh, oh, oh. It was just like a continual surprise. So I was fine with that structure, and I appreciated the way that we dove into like deep into relationships, and like we already knew these people were together and they had a very strong relationship and they had strong communication and they were there for each other, because I think it's a extended family was the greater housing for the relationships. And so it was someone's sister-in-law and someone's aunt and someone's grandfather all had these like stirring relationships. So there was a lot of diversity and that kind of rep as well. There are some content warnings for some of these novels. So if you are someone who looks for those for certain reasons, I would definitely recommend. Storygraph has some great reviews on this series and this author, and so check out the content warnings there, but definitely recommend. Christmas with the Wrights. So Christina C. Jones, I'm now following her on several channels, and she seems delightful. So definitely follow her. And then my fourth book for the Black Authortuber Readathon was Angelborn by L. Penelope. This is another person who I found from doing a little digging and expanding my circle. So, oh, Shannon says at work, but stopping by to say hi and press the like button. Thank you, Shannon. I've already shouted you out in our conversation tomorrow, so I'm very excited to do that for Blood Like Magic. Jim saying hi. Anita saying hi. Hello, hello. And Angelborn. Okay, so Leslie is the author behind L. Penelope. She's got several series going on. I think Ben Pick from Running to Write is the one who actually reviewed one of the books or novellas from the Earthsinger Chronicle. So Leslie is a hybrid author, which means, excuse me, she's got some traditional and some self-published books. This was one of the self-published books. I think it was her first one. And I was attracted to it because I could buy it directly from her website rather than go through the Evil Empire. So you know my motivations by now. We're all good with that. She also had a sale running on these, which I'm not sure she still does. But so Angelborn is one of two in a duology that is a fantasy romance series, which was also something going on during February, the Pharaoh Feb Fantasy Romance February on Instagram. So that was fun. This is like an angel, but like an interesting angel scape. So not angels that I'm familiar with. And I haven't read a lot of angel romances. So this was new for me. And I was a little wary, but the character is someone who was an angel who made a decision to fall in love with someone and become mortal, which is a familiar trope. But then that person died before they could like make him their match. And so he's sort of in this limbo, and you really feel for this character who's made a decision and it was a failure. And so he goes back and he tries to find his person again because he sneaks out. And what ensues is him trying to find the right person who will give him a life again, like bring him back to life, not to get all evanescent on you, but yeah, we're going there. Especially because the 90s and 2000s is in the works for the Missy Elliott Readathon. So just hold on to your hats. So yeah, I really liked this for the humor, the characterization, the funny dialogue. The dialogue was good. The angst. It's a fantasy romance, so there's definitely like some angst in there. This is also her first book, so like it doesn't work up to the Laini Taylor level of angst and like pining, but it's good. It's really good. And it delicately treats the trauma of characters that are involved in this. And so I really liked that portrayal as well. Yep. Give me a fantasy romance when I need a break from all the hot topics and the heavier subjects that I'm reading for Black History Month. So that was Angelborn. So great. Oh, and I've talked about this before, but I'm also following L. Penelope on YouTube and other channels because she is fantastic at the author tubing. So she's got a podcast, she's got a newsletter, she's got sales running, she's doing her own website. She just sounds like a superstar. So if anyone is interested in looking at how to do some authortuber things right, I would definitely recommend following her to see what she's got on offer, because I'm very impressed and I'm putting down on my to-do list things that she has done and is doing. So very star-eyed with some of those things. So yes. And let me relate these to the Missy Elliott readathon. So for that, we're going to pop up question number 2, which is your favorite Missy Elliott song. In case you're confused, because I had to go back and check which songs are Missy Elliott, because I was sort of getting that era of my life mixed up, because there's lots of club songs and, you know, things are sort of gathering dust back there. The songs that I remember, like some of which are in this readathon, include 1 Minute Man, include Work It, include Get Your Freak On. These are all from 2001, 2002. So, you know, if you were just being born then, pipe down, go back and go to the back of the class. And also Shake Your Pom Pom from 2008, which was featured in Step Up 2, The Streets. So this was a lovely walk down memory lane in terms of when I was familiar with Missy Elliott's work. Of course, she's still doing work, and they've got more songs in the readathon. So let's go through those. Have I put anything in the chat yet? No. So let me put this up here. Shay is the one who put the readathon together on Storygraph. So if you visit Storygraph, you can see all the books that people put in for the different prompts. I have gone over this before, but let's just do the wrap-up prompts as well. The first one is Gossip Folks for LGBTQ rep. I don't know the Gossip Folks song, but this prompt was for LGBTQ rep, and Blood Like Magic works for that. The second prompt was 1 Minute Man, and I do know that song. I definitely remember dancing to that in Bay Area dance clubs. Let's just say that. And for this, I've got, the prompt is Black Romance. I've got Christmas with the WRIGHTS for that. I've got The Art of Love for that, and Angelborn for that. So all parties in a relationship being Black. So that was a great one. I definitely enjoyed reading for. The third prompt was Work It. And I do remember that song. I do remember dancing to that song. This is asking for a coming of age trope. So for this one, Transcendent Kingdom works, Blood Like Magic works. And another read that I haven't discussed yet because I haven't finished it. I've made progress, but I haven't finished it yet, is Segu by Maryse Condé. And I'm reading that with Bria. And it's interesting and it's good. And it's got like all these things going on. It's just not compulsively readable. So everything else that I have is just, you know, beating its way to me to get attention. So yeah, coming of age. The fourth prompt is The Rain, Super Duper Fly, which I don't know, but the prompt was to read a book from an author's backlist, at least 5 years old. For this, Segu is definitely on there because it's from the 80s, and Angelborn as well because it's one of Penelope's first books, so that worked as well. Prompt number 5 was Lose Control, which I don't remember, which is a multi-POV book, which Segu works for. Christmas with the WRIGHTS definitely works for. There were like 9 POVs, and Angelborn works for as well. So I'm just like so surprised that all these worked. Prompt number 6, Throw It Back. I don't know this song. Prompt is set in high school or written while you were in high school. None of these were written while I was in high school, but Transcendent Kingdom has some parts that happen in high school, like barely, but Blood Like Magic is also not really in high school because there's no high school in the future that is portrayed there for Voya, but we're gonna count it because that's like vaguely the age. And prompt 7 was Pass That Dutch, which I did not know that prompt. I did not know what that meant in high school. A Black book recommendation. So we had the group reads, which I did not do, or Segu, which was recommended by Bria, and Blood Like Magic, which is recommended by several people I follow, Black authors on YouTube. So this is the first readathon on Storygraph that I have completed all the prompts for, which is super exciting. So yeah. So that was the Black Authortuber readathon and the Missy Elliott readathon. So thank you to the hosts of Missy Elliott for making that so accessible. That is Shay with the Hobbies channel, Britt Riderly's channel and Hey It's Day, and I've linked them in the description as well. So if you want to follow or check out their channels, they did a great job of promoting and having shows and having overlays. Of course, I don't do Instagram very well, but they did a great job of doing that stuff. And we have no one talking about their favorite Missy song, so I'll pass on to the next part of this wrap up, which is other books. Let's see. Sorry, I'm poking back and forth here. I put this in the chat, but it's also in the description. The wrap party. So I had 8 different people participate in the Black Authortuber Readathon, which is amazing. And I thank you all for participating and jumping in and trying something new and supporting fellow authors on YouTube. So this is great. And we're going to have a party on Tuesday, the 15th of March, which is next week. And most of y'all in the chat might be there. So I've got fun stuff planned and maybe some giveaways. Maybe, who knows? So I hope to see you there. The watch link is now in the chat, and I'll pop it up just for fun. Jim says he doesn't know any Missy Elliott songs. Fair enough. The ones that were featured in the Readathon were obviously featured by lovely Black ladies on YouTube. And so I had a different experience in the 2000s as to what songs of Missy Elliott I knew of, because obviously I'm a white girl in California, and I sort of got them from the dance club experience, whereas they were much more familiar and have much more, knowledge of Missy Elliott songs. So a British dude in Georgia, even further away from any sort of Missy Elliott experience, understandable. Oh, okay. Shannon says, I can only give you a half hour for the party, then it's my bedtime. Just kidding. It's past my bedtime, but I'm staying. Oh, boy. And don't remember songs very well. I remember dancing to a lot of them, right? Yes, this is how I connected with Missy Elliott as well. So, yeah, everyone finds their way to different appreciation. All right, so we got the party mention. The next one up is an arc. So the arc is in brand. Here we go. So if you're in for a young adult fantasy that also has a bit of historical in it, then I would point you to Herrick's End. And the author is my friend, Trisha T.M. Blanchet. She is a writer in Boston, and she just got a deal for the second book in the series. So this is very exciting. Herrick's End is the beginning of a series called the Neath Trilogy. You can see it on the cover there. And it's basically, there's a world that, it's a portal fantasy, I suppose. There's a world that our main character, a young adult guy, stumbles into because he's worried about a friend. And he's a good guy, but he discovers all this stuff he didn't know about, and he is ready to learn, and he meets people who show him things and sort of show him the other side of revenge and justice. And so there's some really interesting themes going on. There's a lot of humor, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of action sequences in this, so if you like that, definitely sign up. And yeah, a lot of good. I went through this arc and like put in my I love this line, and sent it back to Trisha because the author loves to hear those things, of course. And yeah, so especially if you're a fan of Boston, this really goes into like not city history necessarily, but city landmarks and neighborhoods and good stuff. So having only been to Boston a little bit at a time, I really appreciated this as like an intro to that. And like I said, the language, the dialogue, the characterization, the themes of what's behind justice and revenge and all that stuff. And yeah, very action oriented. So that was Herrick's End by T.M. Blanchet. There are a lot of social media posts going around about this right now, and it is coming out. Ooh, I should have looked this up. It's coming out in April, but you can pre-order it now, and there's a pre-order link in the description. So that I did not forget, thank goodness. Okay, so that's our arc, and then we've got what else but an audiobook. This is How You Lose the Time War by, and I said this wrong when I talked about it before, so sorry for that, Amal, El-Mohtar, and Max Gladstone. This is a sci-fi fantasy sapphic, meaning it involves lesbians, but what can I say about this without spoiling things? Okay, so what did I like about this? I gave this 4.5 stars. I really liked it. It's very short. It's I don't know if it's a novella or what, but it's very short. And I listened to this driving from California to Oregon. And what it does is it flips back and forth between two POVs of people who are on opposite sides of the war, who end up humanizing each other and figuring out how to win through to a different kind of life. So it's like a futurist tech future where like time travel is figured out and people are trying to take control of the reality of history and whatnot. And so that's the time war. But then the two characters are sort of battling to win and then sort of find out about each other. So it's really cool. And not only is the overarching like humanization of the other side brilliant, but is it plot? How do I describe this? The way that they make the action move and send messages to each other is like ticking off all the boxes of like when I was little and I wanted to be in Swiss Family Robinson, not because I thought being stranded on a desert island was fun, but because you would get to like make a treehouse and make things that were not suited to the purpose work for you. Like you would use half a coconut for something, or you would use a shipwrecked piece of wood for a roof, or, you know, like repurposing. I can see now how this is played out in my life, funnily enough. But if that makes any sense to anyone, that was like such a cool part of this book. And it's a sideline, of course, but if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, so really appreciated this, really enjoyed it, and thank you to Libro.fm because they're the best. Okay, I see I have some chat questions here. Jim, just opened NetGalley and HERRICK'S End is one of the 6 covers on the homepage. That's amazing! Oh my gosh, okay. I'm going to take a picture of that and send it to Trisha so that she knows, because that's super awesome. Thank you for letting me know, Jim. Nia, Vixen of Fiction, is here. Hello, hello. Whoa, a book I've heard of. Yes. I think you would like it. It's very exciting and cool and just like clever. So yeah, I definitely like reading this. This is good. Anita's saying, yes, Margaret's gone mainstream with the Time War book. Really? Okay, all right. I'll admit it. I haven't read. I know Max Gladstone is an author of a series that I wanted to read. Does it have red? I know it's red on the cover, and I know there's a girl with a sword on the cover. 3 Parts Dead? Is that what it's called? And I remember wanting to read that when I worked at the bookstore, but I haven't gotten around to it. And I know Amal El-Mohtar is also a writer on her own, and she's great on Twitter. So having both of them together was like a super treat. So I'm glad this was my entry into them both. So let me take that down. The next one I read was not an audiobook. It was a writing craft book. So if you don't know Libbie Hawker, she is a Pacific Northwest writer. She writes, what does she write? I think mainly historical, because I've heard her talk at Historical Novel Society, but also nonfiction. So this was my nonfiction pick for February, and it's called Take Off Your Pants, How to Outline Your Books. It was originally put out in 2014. It's been revised a couple of times. And shout out to Leo Bancroft, who read this book just before I did, and then we met up and talked about outlines. And yes, maybe he's like a little muddled with his outline at the moment, but it'll come back. Don't worry, it'll come back. I am currently working through my outline that I did with this book for a novella, and I'm about 50% through. I'm not hitting all of my writing sprint times that I put in, but that's okay. I'm working on other goals, and I have faith that this outline is going to help pull me through. I am hitting the events in the outline as Libbie has outlined them, and the thing I'm not worried about it, but I'm noticing as it's happening is that when I'm drafting per the outline, the scene like drifts off, and then I realize the next thing that's coming, and it goes back to the plot, and then it drifts off in a possible direction, and then it goes back to the plot. So either this means I'm going to have to be doing a lot of trimming later, which is fine, or I may end up finishing and changing a whole lot because one of those diversions ended up being more interesting than the plot that I plotted, if that makes sense. Who knows? Who knows? I got to get through it. So this was great. I think I gave Take Your Pants Off 4 stars, 4.25. She's very good about repeating and being clear and addressing worries or fears of writers. And so I thought that was very useful. It's very short, and we'll see. The proof is in the pudding. So we'll see the novella I get by the end of my drafting stage. So what else do we have today? We've got Ravenflight. Did I do that right? Is that the last? Oh, no. I have 2 others before I get to Ravenflight, which is my closing one. So, I forgot to put these in. Let's go with this. Let's do the book first. So I have 2 more books before I discuss the final one. Oh, okay. Nia is also a historical fiction romance writer. She says she's also got a Making It in Historical Fiction book, which I think is more recent. And it is on Nia's TBR. Excellent. Okay, so the 2 other books that I read in February include The Return of the King. This is this is another version of Return of the King. This is a different copy because my mom's copy is more beat up and I didn't want it to disintegrate more. So I took the newer copy in the house, but it's still from the 60s. So I don't know how we got an extra copy. So anyway, nostalgia reread, although I never read the appendices all the way through before, which I did this time because I was in a major nostalgic mood and there was a lot of Lord of the Rings videos being served up to me on YouTube. Can't imagine why I kept clicking on those. Yeah, so I just love this world and Tolkien and the archetypes and the themes and messages, and definitely respect how deep he went. So the languages, the ancient literature, the genealogy, like there is a lot of detail in here, and so that's what I tapped into in the appendices this time for the first time, which was really cool. I still got a tab open about Thorongil, who is a character who's actually, spoiler, Aragorn. But he took part of his father's name. So anyway, I learned lots of cool things that were like not Easter eggs, but just like backstory, which don't show up in the movies. And so this was good. I finished my reread with this, and it just felt like visiting my childhood again. So definitely recommend reading Tolkien if anyone hasn't. Someone just reviewed, I think it was Witchy Reads, just reviewed one of the Tolkien books in depth and, sort of went into why it's appealing. And I thought, I don't think I can do that because it's too like ingrained in my reader DNA. Like I read this too early to be able to analyze it, if that makes sense. And I don't know if anyone else feels the same way. But like when I even think about who's your favorite character. And I go, well, they all have their own pros and cons, and they all have flaws. I also started following people on TikTok who do cosplay for Lord of the Rings stuff, and there's a really funny guy who does Lord of the Rings audios, but like does other funny stuff and repurposes regular kitchen equipment to be armor and stuff. And so I don't know, it just seems like a good place to escape to ponder heroes and what we value. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to have a discussion with someone else to bring these things to light, but I really love reading Lord of the Rings and watching Lord of the Rings. So that was new to me in February. And the only other physical book I read was for my Patreon book club. Sisters of the Raven by Barbara Hambly had a cool cover. And I have had this on my shelf for a long time because I thought it was about sort of like feminist fantasy, women getting power in a world. But it was, we kind of tore it apart for the book club. It is about women getting power to like call the reins and do magic and this sort of thing, and men losing that power. But there's another book called The Power by Naomi. It's got like a hand on the cover and a little girl. I think someone will know what this is about. And it wasn't as striking as that. It was more like, it was actually, this book was written in the early 2000s, but it was more akin to our current climate of fake news and not really knowing what's happening, and hiding the truth because the men don't want to show that they don't have the magical powers anymore, and they're relying on technology and isolation to do the work of mystique and keeping their power. So while the environment degrades because the rains aren't coming and they can't farm anymore and no one's going to have food. So it's actually very prescient. Unfortunately, the writing was a bit of an obstacle. There's a lot of, what's it called? Info dumping at the beginning. There are several points of view and a lot of characters. And I think I mentioned several during our book club discussion that were repeats that I couldn't really tell apart, and they didn't really serve a different purpose. And so I think there could have been some consolidation there. But the ideas are interesting, especially as they parallel our current situation. And there is another, I think there's only one other book in the series that this started. So we'll see. If I find that in the used bookstore when I go next week with my friend, I might pick it up. But again, I hope the writing would have improved. So we'll see. Jury's out on this one. It's like 3 stars. So yeah, that was the only other physical book I read in February. I got some comments. Shannon said, had a few customers, but I want to read the outlining book for Pantsers. Yeah, Barrett's here saying, hey. He is in doctor appointments, but leaving the window open. Thank you. Appreciated. And Beth Ann says was able to peek back in right on time for Sisters of the Raven. There we go. So Beth Ann is in the book club, and we read this together, and we had lots of things to say, as she will be able to tell you as well. Womp womp. Yeah. Okay, so we're about to wrap it up here with my final book. So I'll put up my final banner and overlay. So the banner is, what is your most anticipated March read? Because I am going to give a little window into my March reads. So this is where Raven Flight comes in. I borrowed this from the library, so I don't have the physical copy with me. But I read this in February. It was the second in Juliet Marillier's series, Shadowfall series. The first one was really good. It's YA, it's fantasy, but it's set in a place that has a lot of folklore that echoes Irish folklore. And so this came up in Sunday's Patreon book chat with Aoife from Words of Clover and Shannon of SD Houston. So we were talking about Irish literature and legends, and Juliet Marillier was one of the authors recommended in terms of reading stuff that had Irish folklore-based tales. And so having read this last month and not knowing that it was going to be that, I wasn't really sure. I mean, I've read Shadowfall, and it's almost like if you look at the map of what was that huge fantasy book? Huge with the dragons and the like Asian military and the women. Why can't I remember this? Someone will help me out. Anyway, in that book, they had a map. And when you looked at the map, it looked a lot like the UK and the continent. And so I think a lot of fantasy writers borrow from the European traditions of like an island that is isolated, that has its culture develop over time, and has like invasions from a continent that is nearby. And it's like, gosh, I wonder what you're referencing there. And so this book, this series also has a map, but it is someone's going to help me with the title. Nope, not yet. Okay. This also had a map, but it seemed more like interior to the island. So not being the UK, but being actually Ireland focused, because it had mountains and lakes, and especially the creatures that exist. So our main character in this series is someone who can speak to the creatures that other people can't see, the people who are related to the stones and the trees and the animals, and the birds and whatnot. And so she's called a caller. And I really like this because it kind of taps into druidic knowledge and back when we were more connected to our environment and the world around us. And so I really appreciated that. The second book has less, well, let's say this. It's got plenty of angst in it to make it a young adult. There's not very much romance. So if you want like a clean romance, this is pretty much it. And there's a lot about coming of age and justice and who you trust. And it's a good story. Like not spectacular, but like a really interesting story for those elements and the folklore. So I'm all in for Juliet Marillier. I've also read one of her other series as well. So she's a New Zealand writer, but Aoife said she works for things set in Ireland. So I was like, cool. So if you're participating in the Irish Readathon, which is something I am doing, definitely recommend checking her out. All right, let me catch up here for a second. Beth Ann saying we had a very ranty book club meeting. Yes, I tried to get it all in the hour. It was difficult. Barrett is talking about The Insiders by Mark Oshiro. So I know that name, Mark Oshiro, because I read his second book. No, I read his first book. Every One of Us a Desert is his second book. And is Insiders his next book? I think he must be answering my banner question, most anticipated March read. I actually don't know this title. So if that's coming out in March, that's super exciting. All right. Jim is giving us Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Excellent. I just saw your video about that yesterday, so that's super cool. Very exciting. John's most anticipated read is a biography of Louise Fitzhugh, author of Harriet the Spy. Excellent. Revisiting. No, it's not Poppy War. It's not Time Gate. It's got dragons on the cover and it's orange. It's not Parable the Sower, but I keep thinking Parable. Why? It's bugging me. It'll come. It'll come as soon as I finish this line. Beth Ann, I think I saw a few booktubers organizing a buddy read of a Marillier trilogy. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll search and see. I don't know. I'd have to get it from the library because I don't have the third one in the series handy. There we go. Priory. Parable Priory. Same thing. Like religious P words. Priory of the Orange Tree. That is dragons. That's the one I'm trying to think of with the map that has like a very UK-Europe relationship. Yeah. Beth Ann got it just before you, John. But well done. Well done. And Barrett bringing up the rear. You got the third. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Oh, funny. I appreciate you all filling in for my external brain when it doesn't work. Yeah, Jim got it too. Perfect. You guys get all get a point. Very well done. Okay, so anticipated March reads. I may be going for the third Juliet Marillier. I may look up on Beth Ann's recommendation someone who's organizing a reading. That would be cool. But otherwise, I've got a lot of other things to do on the March TBR. I've got leftovers from February. Cast is still going, although I'm closing in. Segu is still going, although I'm closing in. And I just started a book with green on the cover. That is the second book in a series. Oh, riddle me that. Riddle me that. We've got a few minutes left. So if anyone can think of the second book in a series that I will be reading, that I've started reading, that has green on the cover. If you're if you watch the channel, you might know. I read the first book in the series a couple months ago, so I've been waiting for the second one. But yeah, that is the fun stuff that happened in February. Thank you so much to Shay and Britt and Day for running the Missy Elliott Readathon and letting us like jump in and like have fun with the prompts and actually complete one for once. That was fun. We have the Buddy Read with Shannon going up tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern of Blood Like Magic. Lots of stuff to talk about there. We have the wrap party for the Readathon where all my lovely BookTube friends are going to be discussing all the books we read and having fun next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So it's a wrap party. So just think like a cast party. It's going to be in the evening. And yeah, lots of other fun stuff happening. Talking to Maggie, Penumbra Mine, MM Ward on Friday. What's the other thing I'm doing on Sunday? Anyway, there's lots of things going on. I wrote it down so I didn't have to remember. So yeah. We got a bot. So I will take down my banner. Thank you for joining. Take down my overlay, do all my cleanup here. And yeah, just appreciate you guys for being here and coming to talk. And excited for the Irish Readathon. And yeah, it's raining here in Portland again. So I'm going to have to go shake my pom-pom instead of going out to walk. That is my thought to leave you with. Oh, I'm going to say hi, Katya. Nice to see you. That is my thought to leave you with. And happy reading, everybody, in March. And I'll see you again soon.